Hello, and welcome to the weekly reading. I am pulling in dragon energy for the moment because for me, this is what comes up in eclipse season. It's like a crazy dragon portal swirling energy. And be the change you wish to see in the world, because through this reading, I can see we are struggling with that change. I can feel it in myself, and I'm sure you can feel it in yourself as well. So remember to pick a number between 1 and 4. Before we dive in, I just want to say that Mercury is retrograde. It's so funny. Well, it's not funny. It was actually extremely frustrating how many Mercury retrograde intense moments I had last week. One of the minor ones was that I said Mercury went retrograde this week, and actually Mercury went retrograde the day after the eclipse. So we're in that Mercury retrograde, and I normally only focus on the astrology kind of that is implicit in this week and the reading that shows up as a result. But I just really want to point out this Mercury retrograde in Taurus. It's going to really come into play even stronger because Jupiter's going to step into this sign in the next little while, and particularly around June, July is going to be triggering the retrograde space, this Mercury retrograde space. So whatever we're experiencing, reevaluating, restoring, rethinking now is going to come up again in a big Jupiter way. And then the Taurus eclipse that happens, I think, at the end of October is at 5 degrees of Taurus. And that is the exact degree that Mercury is going to station back to go direct at. So particularly the first 10 degrees of Taurus feel very important, and even 15 degrees. If you have planets or points there, this may really, really impact you. And you may want a little bit of support around that. Let me know if you do. My oil theme this week is breathe for obvious reasons. We are right between the eclipse portal. Here's another little dragon. And let's jump in, shall we? How did your eclipse go last week? Okay, here's the big picture. And it's much more upside down than we would normally like, but I think it feels appropriate based on the fact that we're right in the middle of eclipses. So being that we're in the middle of eclipses, we are still in the sort of tidal wave. Maybe you might want to call it the eye of the storm, because the storm we know is still underway, but maybe it feels a little less intense. I'm not sure. Let's watch this space. Point being is that you can use the middle week of the eclipse season to try and see what you needed to process and integrate from the first eclipse before the second eclipse hits next week. Now, this is also showing up for us in the Six of Cups card, because this is a card that really asks us to look back. There's a lot of nostalgia in this, and in its better form, it's looking back with love. It's emotional card. It's cups. We've got 2 cups and 2 pentacles, both of which are earth and water, so more yin elements. And I find this quite interesting because there's a lot of masculine energy in this reading. However, it's like, how do we balance the masculine feminine dynamic, which is also extremely potent in the shifting eclipse axis to Aries Libra. So as we see the Six of Cups, it's like that happy nostalgic moment where we look back with love, with longing, wish we could go back. No, we can't. Look at what we experienced and learned, and what we loved and what we didn't, and how that's formed the person we are now. And this kind of reflection is important, as I said, because we're between the eclipses, but also because that's kind of the space we need to be in to be processing that last eclipse before the next eclipse. Then we have 2 Pentacles court cards, the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles, and both are upside down. So for me, the strong message, I mean, that is a very masculine dynamic that is out of alignment. So the cards are telling us with water and earth that we're dealing with the very strong feminine principles. And here we're looking at 2 out of alignment masculine principles. I mean, obviously, if it's a King of Pentacles, it's a king and a feminine principle. And same for the Knight. But this is where we have to look at the different layers of this. And for me, the big pattern here is, how does the masculine, and this is a thing that we're looking at collectively, how does the masculine find a way to be in this new society where the dynamic of power with the patriarchy has shifted so far, the scales have tilted so far that for the masculine, and this is a generalization, obviously, and also to say that if you are in a woman's body, that doesn't mean you aren't predominantly masculine. Many women are predominantly masculine in their energy, and many men are predominantly feminine in their energy. So this is far bigger than just the body you're in, right? But definitely that, and for me, I'm seeing a workaholic reset here for those who are workaholics, because Pentacles do ask us to work hard, be consistent, be steady, be stable, if they're doing well, and then you will acquire material security. But these two guys are upside down. They're actually both looking towards the past. You can see they're both, I mean, he's walking into those memories and he's looking back at them. And look at the dog. There's a wolf with the King of Pentacles. We could say K9 anyway. And the dog energy here. And the horse. There's a strong loyalness in the animal totems that are showing up here. Loyal and free. Loyal and free. I mean, a wolf is ostensibly a free, a wild animal, and there's a level of freedom. Horses, freedom, but also loyalty. And dogs, of course, known for their loyalty and love. So it's like looking back into the past, and I loved this in the past, and I loved being loved that way, or loving this way, or I loved my work, or I loved the family traditions, and now it just doesn't feel the same. Now it just doesn't seem to fit. And I could throw myself into working hard and getting more to make me feel better. And that is a very that old masculine patriarchal paradigm. Or I could start trying to be happy with what I have, invest more time and energy in different areas of my life. Maybe that's where I can align with the feminine. And the masculine principle is kind of like a straight arrow. It wants to go straight forward, in a straight line, or up those steps, or climb that ladder. Whereas the feminine principle, by its very nature, is a little bit more chaotic and circuitous. They both acquire, accumulate, and work. They just do it in different ways. And here we're being kind of guided. I mean, even look at the pentacle. It is a round disc. It is not a straight line. So how do we achieve in a round way rather than straight as an arrow kind of thing? And I definitely think that you need to be having that check-in with yourself personally, whatever your gender, and then also looking at the other masculine aspects of your life. So other men in your life would be the first and most obvious, but also bosses who tend to come across for the most part as more of a masculine energy, even if they're feminine, the people that have power over you. Looking at all of those dynamics of where is the masculine in my life, internally and externally, not really working for me right now, and how do I adjust that? And then again, it's okay to look back, but it's looking back to inform moving forward. It's not looking back to get stuck in what was so much better. When you hear, well, all of us do this, but it definitely happens more and more when you speak to older people, when they start saying, when I was young and this and this and this, and they're living in that past. And this is common as we get to old age, because you can't create as much, well, one tends not to create as much in the present as one experienced in the past. And that's what we really need to caution ourselves, actually, whatever your age, is caution against. We can love the past, we can remember the past, we can enjoy those memories, but we can also make new ones at any age and any stage. And that leads into the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Cups. And yeah, this is challenging for us, because this is basically saying, and here we are swirling around this healing pit, what to let go, what to keep. And here it's like healing, going into the shadow, feeling the heavy feelings, draining the cup, draining the energy, drain, and actually getting stuck again. Another nod to getting stuck this week. We're getting stuck in that story. We're getting stuck in that energy. We're not healing. We are becoming the trauma. we are allowing ourselves to be defined by the traumas that have happened in our lives instead of being defined by who we become because of the traumas that happen in our lives. So we need to rise up because of those traumas. We need to grow past those traumas. And actually, there's another strong message for me here about growing up. And I've mentioned this in my Red Tent gathering the other day, that it seems like we have a collective growing up, maturation process happening in a really big way. And we're all having to like put on our big girl or big boy panties and say, okay, well, I don't really want this, but this is the next right step. Even if it's not the step that I want, I need to grow up right now and learn how to cope with these situations that are not my first choice. And I'm seeing that collectively in many, many different ways, whether looking at group situations or whether working one on one with somebody, working internally with my own self. This theme is showing up and up and up and up. We have to grow up. We are in a very big stage of growing up and growing out of something. And this comes back to this card, because if we're growing out of something, it's easy to look back and go, oh, but when I was young, it was so much fun when I was a kid, I used to love that. Or my granny always used to do this. And, and we go back into the past and we long for those things to the point that if we overdo it, we get stuck. We want to just work for material wealth, work to avoid really the feelings, because hard work is pentacles and feelings is cups. So if we're working to run away from the uncomfortable feelings, we're doing it wrong. Okay, we need to learn to sit with those feelings. Sit with them. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. I know it. I know it. I hate it. I dive into work. That's my default setting. But we need to be working towards allowing ourselves to move through the healing, not getting stuck. I mean, who wants to be in these uncomfortable feelings persistently and consistently forever? Because that's what it is. If you get defined by the story of your traumas, that's what's going to happen. Reliving the traumas sometimes insofar as you need to move through it is fine. Getting stuck in the trauma, not so great. There is so much support out there. If you feel like this is your thing, definitely just remember that you don't have to do it alone. That's the biggest thing, I think, for all of us to remember right now, is that, first of all, healing doesn't happen in a straight line. Sometimes it feels worse before it feels better, but we don't have to be there forever. Like, we shouldn't get stuck in the, well, it feels worse before it feels better, so I'm going to feel miserable for the next 5 years. No, there is a lot of help. There is a lot of support. There is a lot of guidance. You can trust that you will be drawn to the right books, the right people, the right healers, the right card readings, the right whatever, be it free, be it paid for. You will be drawn in the right directions if you trust that your heart will lead the way and that you are worth healing for. You are worth the work. You are worth the effort. So have a beautiful, beautiful week. Do the integration as best you can this week so that we're ready for the Scorpio eclipse next week. Sending lots of love to everyone.